to shine. Give 'em what you got, baby. Time to show them you are. It's time to shine. Gotta give 'em what you got. Gotta show 'em you
I feel like it
are.
is like this.
Welcome to the Six Chicks podcast, where we bring you curated authenticity and Christ centered realness. Today, we're going to be discussing the recent events that have been happening in our world and the untimely death of George Floyd and all the things that have happened since his death. So, we thought it would be helpful to just kind of recognize that these things are going on because it's affecting all of us. And so we just wanted to bring that information to you in a very real way. I want to give you the disclaimer. We have not discussed these questions. You might see crying, you might see anything, but we promise to always give you the real or the authentic. So I want to change that because I don't want y'all to think I was talking about another show with ladies on it, just like this one. But anyway, so ladies, I know many people have been grieving, and I feel like I just kind of want to know how each of you were doing. So the first thing that I want all of us to do is just go around and just give one word of how you're feeling. Just one word.
Restless.
Heart wrenched.
Emotional.
Hesitant.
Oh, sorry, Lisa.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Hesitant. Hesitant for sure.
Angry.
Mm, Emotional.
And I think my word would be saddened. And I want all of us to kind of discuss why we chose those words. So um, I'll go first to kind of kick it off since I came up with this activity. um, for me, I've been saddened because I've been having like certain realizations of what's been going on for a long time under my nose. Um, and I kind of feel as though I've been cheated for a long time, and that I actually deceive myself into thinking that certain aspects of systematic racism weren't affecting my life. I mean, I knew racism is affecting my life, but in some areas, I don't know if I felt like I was untouched, but I just didn't feel like it was touching me um, as hard as maybe some other people. Um, and so in the last couple of weeks, I found out that my high school had been um, just not doing the right thing as pertains to the girls, to the young black girls at our school for decades. And we had a forum and discussed it, and it was just apparent that our school was just way far behind. So just made me very sad. The next day, I've been sad all week because I just felt just just like someone took advantage of me. So, and I just found out, and it's been my whole life. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I picked restless, especially for this week, just because I feel like I've been in a constant state of juggling, like bouncing back and forth between different like emotions, like from angry, from to numbness, to confusion, to like not even knowing what feelings I'm experiencing at the moment. And like, so it's like internal juggling and then outward juggling with like keeping up with or feeling like you got to keep up with the stories. And then just while also knowing that you can't keep up with the stories. So there's like no reconciling the two, you know? And so it's like just being in like this constant flux state is what I've been feeling lately. And then also with the outward, like the decisions of what you encounter outwardly. Okay, what do I do? So okay, okay, if they posting now, okay, I'm gonna post that too, and now I'm gonna look at that resource. I didn't know that before. Let me put that down. So it's like I'm taking in a lot of information and still having to sort through information and still process the information along with trying to process trauma, which I have not perfected. Like I've not even really begun to like the practice of like actually working through processing trauma in a healthy way. Not saying I'm doing it in an unhealthy way, so to speak, but I think during this time and before the pandemic and the murders and things like that, I think that's another part of this time, like with such extreme or like awareness being brought forth or being pulled up or yanked up to the surface is like forcing me into a state of like urgency of like, okay, we got to figure out how to process now so that things can like at least work without you falling apart or anything like that. And so it's just a weird space of like restlessness. Like I don't feel like I'm about to tip off or anything like that, but it's just being aware of like things are moving while you're not, and it's like, what is that? And so that's me.
That's good. Things are moving while you're not. I hadn't even thought about it like that. Because a lot of us aren't moving because of the pandemic, but there's a lot moving around us. So that's brilliant. Victoria, did you?
So I would say I chose heart wrenching, just because. I mean, if you just think about it, if I look at all y'all, it's like this stuff is what you're going through. I remember one day, Angela and Courtney and I were driving to the airport, and we got pulled over. And y'all was like, I could tell you were visibly shook. Courtney was driving. Angela was in the front seat, and I was in the back seat. Not that I wasn't thinking anything, because I was, but what I was going through and what y'all was going through was so completely different. And it just, at that time, it made me realize even more how serious it is. So now when these situations come up again, which it's always, but when it's on a media type platform, and like I told you guys, George looked familiar to me. So when it's on those I'm just like, dang, this is what y'all go through every single solitary day. And it's just heart wrenching to me. On a smaller scale, y'all are my best friends. And this is how you feel when you leave the house almost every single day. Well, actually, every single day. But on a larger scale, it's like this is happening to all of you, every African American that walks out their door. And you guys know, I have so many African American friends. I know so many males at my jobs that I have been through that still keep in contact with me today. And the thought that when they walk out of their door, they're like visibly shaken, just going to the doggone store. And it's heart-wrenching to me. Now, I appreciate the fact that Caucasian people are getting together and rallying, and throughout all the nation, they're doing this. But it's like, golly, like we're still here. We're still here. And it's just heart-wrenching. It's 2020. It's 2020. And it's just, I can just pray. That's all I can do. I can just pray and talk to you guys and see how you guys are doing and see how you guys are feeling, because I really don't even understand aside from what you tell me and what I see. And it's devastating. It's just devastating.
Thank you, Vic.
For me, I would say emotionally, I've been all over the place. At first, I felt like I was okay. Of course, seeing everything, thinking about everything, I didn't really show any emotion, just, I guess, processing everything more than anything else, until I talked to a white friend of mine, and she just really was asking questions, trying to understand what was going on, how I was feeling. how my husband, what he deals with, because she didn't know. And that's when the emotions really rose up, and I saw just how I felt, because I had a hard time talking about it and crying immediately. And it actually shocked me because have never, I've never been confronted with racism. I think more so with what Angela said, like, we, of course, we know it exists, but it's just never really been in our face. But looking back on it, you see different things like, okay, that's when it happened. That's when it happened. This is when, it was around me. I just didn't pay attention to it. And I think because all these years just suppressing it, we're just so used to things being the way they are that it's just naturally we have suppressed it. Now it has all risen up, even within me. So I have been dealing with just having a Black husband, a Black son, what that looks like now, because I never really thought about it. I mean, my husband has been pulled over numerous times for no reason. But it's just like, well, that's just what cops do. That's how it is being Black, driving while Black. You just kind of toss it to the side. You don't really think about it. But now, when he goes out, thinking about my son growing up, now it's really in my face, and I'm really having to deal with what that looks like, how we ought to train our son to act and how to be. Um, and I chose the word hesitant because although I'm hopeful, I realize I don't have trust in the system. I'm hesitant as to believe that things will change. And I don't like feeling like that, but that's just honestly how I feel. And I told another friend of mine, white friend, I was very bold and very honest. And I said, I just don't trust the system. I don't trust the white system and as a whole. Like my white friends, yes, because they're my friends, I love them, I know them, I trust them, but just the entire system itself, I don't trust it. And I don't know, after the protests ends, after the riots end, what things are going to look like. Are they going to really change? Because I don't trust that they will change the way they need to, because it's a mind shift. It's yeah, we can have laws put in place and things, but will they be enforced? Will they be the laws that we really need, that we are happy with, that will move us forward as a race? I don't know that that will happen. And so that is my concern. And all I can do is really pray and just hope that things change, have faith that they will change. But if people's minds don't shift at the end of the day, then what will actually change? I don't know that they will.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Going back off of what she said, like my original emotion behind this was anger. Um, but as I think about that, I would say I've definitely been overwhelmed with multiple emotions. Um and anger and being like tired of what my people have been forced to go through in this country, because I recognize, I feel like I've been suppressing how just like all of us really having to suppress how we feel about things that we deal with on a daily basis, as far as things like microaggressions and going to work and feeling like you can't really speak up for what you want or what you need, or actually do your job appropriately and be assertive because of how you're going to be viewed because of the color of your skin. And I think that I think that right now what made me the most angry is because Black people are suffering the most from this pandemic going on. We are dying at larger rates. We're losing our job at larger rates. And then it's like, then you still killing us too? It's like to add the insult to injury. It's just like one layer after another. And I think that, you know, I've been overwhelmed with different emotions because I'm sad at the loss of another life, multiple other lives that we're talking about right now, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. Like, we're talking about all these people at the same time, amongst the hundreds of others that have died at the hands of police. But specifically right now, it just feels so magnified because of everything else that we're going through. And so that's why I kind of feel overwhelmed, because last week especially, that's all that was on social media. That's all everybody was talking about. And so it was just, you couldn't really escape it. You can't really, you can't really go anywhere. And then it's like it kind of forced us, I feel like, to deal with it um in a way. Um More than we've ever had to do before. But yeah, it's been a lot to really process this right now. I'm sort of hopeful, because I feel like, because it's getting so much attention and things are happening all across the world, that maybe people who view Black Americans or Black people in general in this negative light are being more exposed now. And I'm hopeful that because they're being more exposed, then we know exactly who's against us and who's not. I mean, who's for us and who's not. And so it's easier for us to pinpoint who we spend our money with. It's easier for us to pinpoint who we vote for, because these people are becoming more and more vocal. So that's kind of why I'm hopeful that, like, that things could make a shift right now because of the worldwide attention that all of this is getting. But I'm also really hoping that it just doesn't, kind of go back to things as usual, because I can't go back to things as usual, because I'm so angry and tired. That's really all I can think of. But
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Ife, is that I think as a collective group of people, we're angry and tired. My word was emotional because, for a lot of different reasons, I've been extremely emotional about what's happening. And for me, it's like my emotion or my response to this global trauma that we're all seeing every single day, day in and day out, via TV, social media, is like I'll be in a meeting, the meeting is over, and then when I click off the Zoom, I'm crying. And it's because of the weight of what is happening to our people. And I think that, you know, just in that same light, it's like, when people ask you every day, like, how are you doing? And you just automatically say, I'm fine. Like, I've been realizing that after I say I'm fine, in my head, I'm like, but you're not okay. So it feels like, just to do what we have to do every day, like I'm betraying the movement almost a little bit sometimes. And so that's making me more like emotional and sensitive to everything. So, where I spend my money, do y'all support or not? Because if not, I got to make a decision about, where do I work? What is your response to it? Because if not, should I be there or not? And so it's all these different like emotions that are like just erupting whenever, which for me feels like, do I have this under control? Like, what's happening? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I think that when I went into like 2020, like I had no idea that this was the vision, that this was the clarity, that this was going to happen in this manner for us to see.
hmm.
I only thought about all the great things that I wanted to see in my life. I didn't realize that the whole world would pause in the month of May because on Memorial Day, a man was being arrested, actually murdered. And it's just like, wow, these moments are at times unbearable. I am I am happy that we are seeing traction, that the quarantine has caused us to be still, to finally listen and recognize and see what has been taking place since forever. And I don't think that if we had not had the pandemic prior to this, that we will be here. And so while these things have been horrible, they've been taxing, and they'll continue to be, I am slightly hopeful that this feels different because we're in a place of pausing. We're in a place of stillness, and there is no denying what's happening all across America. And for us to have the allegiance of different countries to say, hey, enough is enough. Like, Black Lives Matter. I'm sure that when those three women started this movement, they had no idea that it would take almost 7 years later for the impact to hit.
Mm.
But it did. And while we're trying to process through our trauma, while we're trying to process through all these emotions and just make it, I think that we just have to just continue on. You know, I wish we could have like an American group therapy session or something, because some days I don't know what to do with what I'm feeling. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you crying. Okay, now you're upset. Okay, now you're good. But then in those moments, which I am good, like I said before, I feel like I'm betraying the movement or the moment of what's happening right now. And so it's just a lot of different things I think you have to take into account when we're talking about what we're feeling, what we're processing, and how we can like move it forward in a safe space. So my word is emotional.
That's good, Tiffany. Um, you hit the hammer on the nail, because it was a space in there where you said something to the effect of, "Am I okay?" Like thinking you're okay and then questioning, "Am I okay?" And that happened yesterday. Just to divert a little bit, that happened yesterday. Myself and my cousin Ife, we'd gone to the store, and her daughter walked off for a second, and I yelled at her like I never yelled at her for something so little. And I realized that I was yelling at her because I was fearful that someone would grab her up or something, and I need to keep my eyes on her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a little firecracker, so she'll go do whatever anyway. But I knew in the moment of it that it was more of a me issue than it was a her issue. And so then I was thinking that very thought you said, Tiffany, like, okay, I'm off. I'm not okay.
Mm.
I'm not okay. Even when I think that I'm semi okay, I'm not okay. Because now I'm acting out. And that's what kids
Mm-hmm.
do when they're not okay. They act out. Um, but just to kind of, you know, be mindful of one thing. We talked about some pretty heavy emotions, and thoughts and feelings. And so I'm wondering how people are taking care of themselves during this time frame, or if you are even thinking of taking care of yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, like that opposes the word I said, restless. So that's like a clue as to, I just thought, when you asked that question, I had to think like, no, I could be doing a lot better with taking care of myself. The typical things I would do to cope just wasn't working anymore. And really, I realized I wasn't really like, I really was just coping, not really dealing. Like coping was just like continuing to work through whatever task I got going on. I'm just finish it and go to bed and whatever. And like I've just been recently made aware of that within myself, and the pandemic hits, and then so now I'm kind of forced, kind of like what Tiffany was talking about, to just like straight up pause and like can't go anywhere. So you got to figure out the space you living in. Is this set over here the way out? I'm noticing everything around my space now. Okay, I need to put some pillows over there. I need to, just little things just irk you that you wouldn't notice if you weren't sitting with it. And so then you move forward to the murders that's happening. And so it's like, okay, now my orientation is all off again, but on a whole different level. And so I don't know, the most that I've been able to do is just try to make myself go to bed and go to sleep. There have been like a lot of nights where I would go to sleep and wake up and I would still be exhausted, or like just not, as though I only slept maybe a few hours, or I'm like, well, what did I do today? I didn't do too much today. But it's like going back to like, my mind's been constantly trying to process, my body's constantly trying to process, because I'm probably not doing everything I need to do. So it's like, okay, Courtney, we got to figure out, skin break it out, something got to give, and so that's something that's self-care. That's something I need to look at a lot more. But my main go-to is just try to somehow quiet myself, either put some music on and try to just eliminate some screen time, or at least break it up. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm at so far.
So I think for me, during this time, the thing that I do the most would be pray, just because I am a servant and at heart, and I want to make sure that I'm there, for my friends and the people that I know and the people that I don't know during this situation, the best way that I know how. And because I'm not running around doing this and doing that because I'm working so much, I definitely take time out to just pray and just listen to the Lord. And I just trust and believe that, He'll tell me when I need to call somebody or when I need to ask somebody how they're doing or, do something of that sort. So I think that's the way, for the most part, I take care of myself during this time. Because when I take care of others, it definitely feeds something on the inside of me, being a servant, to take care of myself.
That's good. That's really good. And like you, Vic, definitely spending time in prayer in the morning, and also just find it relaxing, doing some yoga, even if it's just 20 or 30 minutes a day. That has helped. But the one thing I realized I've been doing more of, especially since the weather is nice where I live, just being outside in the sun, relaxing, spending time with my kids. But I find that just being out in warm weather in the sun just helps me to relax and escape it all. And that way I'm not in front of the television. I'm not on my phone, looking through things. It's just a great way for me to just have some peace in my backyard, laying out in the sun, enjoying my family. So that has been the most beneficial for me by far.
I would say, kind of just like Lisa said, I kind of spend some time on my porch. I have a small patio and I've put flowers out there. So I kind of spend some time there. I diffuse my essential oils all the time. They are
Hmm.
steadily going to calm me down. Um, but I would say that I could definitely be doing more. I feel like just having conversations with you all and like definitely with Angela and my other friends, like just kind of talking through some of these things, it kind of helps to know, because I know that I'm not alone in how I feel, but it is good to kind of just talk through and say how, just how you're feeling about stuff. It doesn't even come to necessarily a resolution about, what's not a solution of what's going to happen or not happen, but it's just like just getting it out. I feel like has helped me, but I'm definitely looking for some more self-care tips. So,
That's good, Ife. I was thinking that like this past week, like I could tell like I'm in like overload mode. So I was just kind of like, what do I need to do to kind of like unwind? And so this upcoming weekend, I'm taking like the weekend to just unplug a little bit, to relax and just recharge, because it's just been overwhelming. I think, for me, even this past week, it was crazy. Like I was literally going to get my Starbucks and I was coming back to the house and an officer started following me. And I had a totally different reaction than normal. Like I was legit nervous. I was thinking about how can I set up my phone to record? Like all these different thoughts were coming. And I knew then in that moment, hey, you are in overload mode. You need to figure out how to just decompress. And for me, that is being able to kind of get away for a weekend to kind of unplug a little bit and just have some time where I'm just silent in prayer. If I'm meditating, definitely in the evenings, I'm running my oils, my diffuser in the evenings, because that just helps me to kind of relax from the day, to kind of just let things, go that happen throughout the day and kind of just clear my mind a little bit because it's overwhelming right now. It's legit overwhelming. And I think if we don't have things in place to make sure that we're good, and then also things in place where we can recharge, that it'll be all bad for us. So I definitely would just encourage us all to just figure out what those things are. And like Lisa said too about just going outside. Like I went for like a jog one day and I was like, man, this feels great. So just doing those things to kind of just unplug and recharge and connect.
Yeah, I think that intentionality around it is vital. And I think it's something that we should incorporate into our lives all the time so that when situations like this come about, we're not trying to figure out how to take care of ourselves in a
Right,
traumatic situation. We need to be in the habit of
right.
learning how to take care of ourselves on a regular basis so we can be, you know, probably a little stronger per se when things arise. So there's and everyone doesn't have to answer this, but there's been a lot of like chatter around, people protesting or not
Mm,
protesting, and what does that mean? Some people feel like you're supposed to be on the front line. Some people feel like that makes no sense. That what does protesting do? Um, just a few guys. I just wanted to see like what are your thoughts about the protesting and like people's positions on that.
Um, I have, you know, I think with that topic, I think it really just comes down to knowing your position. I feel like for me, it's a strong, like, I really believe that everyone has a purpose, right? And so everyone has a position to play on the board. And I think that protests work. Let me just put that out there. I think protests work. I think voting works in its own right. And I think that prayer works. And so I think that everyone has to know what they're assigned to do. So I feel like there are some people who are strategically going to be working behind the scenes. That means their job is maybe going to they have connections at the council and things like that, so they might not literally be protesting in the middle of the street. They're contacting people in the back and trying to discuss when they can have meetings and when they can do town halls and things like that. There are people who are prayer warriors who are going to get on their knees and pray the fire from heaven down. There are people who are supposed to be in the streets marching. And so I think that is just, I don't think there's a you should be doing this or you should be doing that. I think that's where the divide comes in, and because the reality is we're all for the same cause, but every piece on the chessboard doesn't do the same thing. So I think that there are some people there, like I said, there are some people who, if you in your gut feel like my job is to go and protest, then that's what you need to go and do. You know what I mean? But if you feel like my job is getting to the top of this company that I work for so that I can work, getting in the HR manager position so that I can turn around and hire black and brown people, maybe that's what you need to be working on, getting your credentials to do that. I feel like we shouldn't be putting each other against putting one above the other, because it's just about, I feel like, knowing your position and where you fall in the grand scheme of things.
mhm,
That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's perfect, Ife, what you said, because it definitely lines up with who I am and what I do. Protesting, I believe in it fully, but as you all know, I work a lot, and there was a protest right down the street from me at 7 o'clock the other night, and I sure enough couldn't go. But I definitely, in the midst of going to the grocery store and going to my job, if I see something, I say something. If I hear something, I say something. And that's just my way of protesting. That's my way of being vocal and supporting, the cause and my friends and the people that I know that are, just going through something that they should have never gone through in the first place. So it makes sense, and what you said is definitely very in line with what I do.
Yeah, I like totally agree. I think protest, like in its purest form, is just your expression or act against something that you disapprove of, right? And so we just look at it, I think, sometimes in a closed lens because that's what we see the most. But I agree, Ife and Vic, that um, our existence, if we are fulfilling purpose, literally our existence is a protest to what's happening. And, I would just like Ife say, I would encourage you to play your position, whatever that position is, like whatever that looks like, because you showing up every day is a protest to what is happening. You speaking up, you standing up in whatever arena and however that looks is more impactful than you doing something because you see someone else doing it. Like we can't lose sight of the ball. You know what I'm saying? We can't lose sight of the overall big win. And it's going to take everybody in every business sector, in every sphere of influence together playing their position for us to really win against systemic racism, point blank, period. And I think that we can't be, like you said, judging each other if everybody can't show up to a rally and then saying that you're not a part of the protest. Because to me, that's not true. Every time you wake up with breath in your body, you are a part of the protest. And if you are fulfilling purpose, if you are moving towards purpose, then you are a part of the movement. And we need everybody to play their position.
That's good, Tiffany. That's real good. Um, you know, I didn't say it before in any of my other in our other podcasts, but you all know I have a background in counseling, and so it bothers me tremendously. You know, when I see division, when people are trying to all do the right thing. So I just felt like that was a question that I wanted to address to just make sure people felt okay with what they were doing. Because I agree with y'all. It's you got to do whatever it is you're supposed to do. Me personally, y'all know I'm gonna pray and pray and pray and pray and pray because I feel like that was first in life. So, but some people feel like that's not effective, and they have the right to think that. That's fine. But like you said, everybody play their part and do what they're supposed to do, and just be in unity going together forward. You know what I'm saying? Instead of discord. It makes no sense. So, well, that's all I have for you all today. We all have for you today. Ife, why don't you let them know how they can see us in the future?
Okay, so if you loved what you hear today, or what you heard today, rather, we definitely want you all to check us out and stay connected with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Six Chicks. And then we also want you to follow our YouTube channel at the Six Chicks Podcast. Make sure you stay tuned for all of our upcoming episodes. We love you, and we are so excited to be connecting with y'all.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
It's time to shine.